Hi, I'm Rich Cushman with Strategic Self-Reliance and Defense, and today I'm going to continue the series on TCCC, or Tactical Combat Casualty Care, and we're going to focus on the M in the March PAWS acronym, at least get it started. So please watch, re-watch the video, and then please come out and train with us. Again, Strategic Self-Reliance and Defense. You're going to have to forgive me, I'm going to have to wear my glasses because the glare is killing me. Got my notes here to keep me on track. All right, so let's just talk a little bit again about the March PAWS acronym. Again, we're talking about TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care. Right now we're talking about the care that takes place under the tactical field care phase. Remember, after hostilities have ended, but before you've moved the casualty off of the battlefield or out of triage, the triaged area. Okay, so M is the first letter in the March PAWS acronym. Why do you think it's first? Well, I'll tell you, it's first because it is the priority. M stands for massive hemorrhage. Okay, massive hemorrhage, so a lot of bleeding. There's a reason it's number one. The rapid treatment of massive hemorrhage is the first. It is your priority in combat trauma. A couple of data points, and I think we covered, at least I know we covered the first one last time. 90% of combat deaths occur in the pre-hospital phase. So again, point of injury to making it to the doors of the ER, pre-hospital. 90% of our battlefield casualties happen in that phase. So that's why TCCC is so important. Here's a second one. I know I didn't give you this one last time. Experts, okay, they review all the combat deaths. These are deaths from OIF, OEF. I don't remember which study this was, but 25% of our combat deaths were deemed potentially survivable. Now they have a definition for that, of course, as they always do, but 25% of the deaths were deemed potentially survivable. That's enormous. I mean, you think about, out of every 4 people that died on the battlefield, 1 of them could have been saved with proper care. Okay, and of course, the reason M is number 1 is because the number 1 reason of preventable deaths on the battlefield is from bleeding. Okay, it used to be extremity bleeding. We got better at fixing that, and now it's junctional bleeding. Okay, kind of transition from extremity bleeding to junctional bleeding. We're going to talk about all those things. The number 2 cause, preventable deaths, upper airway obstruction. You know, think about something as simple as the tongue occluding the airway, and now you're not breathing. All right, so massive hemorrhage, number 1 priority. 90% of our deaths pre-hospital, 25% of our deaths preventable, or at least potentially survivable. Let's put it that way. Excuse me, throat is dry. All right, so I've kind of already defined massive hemorrhage. Massive hemorrhage is a lot of bleeding. It's what we call life-threatening bleeding. The human body, the adult human, has about between 4 and 6 quarts, or 4 and 6 liters, whichever way you want to, you know, whether you want to talk about metric system or not, but 4 to 6 liters or 4 to 6 quarts of blood. Not getting really deep into this because, you know, we can go talk about this stuff for hours, but when we've lost 40% of our blood volume, we call that class 4 hemorrhage. And class 4 hemorrhage, 40% of our blood volume is gone. When that's gone, it's gone, and we are in imminent death, okay? Unless we do something quickly, and we do it right, the patient is not going to survive, or it's very unlikely they're going to survive. Death is imminent once you reach that class 4 hemorrhage, if you don't do something quickly, all right? Now, before you get to class 4, right, we got class 1, 2, and 3, you're going to have different symptoms. And again, I don't want to get real deep into this, but as you're sliding between 2 and 3 stages, you're going to start having symptoms, you know, of shock. You know, you're going to start having symptoms, what we call shock symptoms. And the easiest one of those to recognize is just they're a little off. Altered mental status. It can be confusion, it can be anxiety, it can be agitation. It can be sleepiness, right? They're lethargic, they're just hard to arouse, right? But they're off. Altered mental status. That's usually the easiest one to notice. Cool, clammy skin. You can have, maybe they're pale skin. If you were to check their pulse, it would be fast. It would also be what we call thready or weak. It's not as strong as it once was because there's just less blood pressure, okay? If you were to take their blood pressure, they would have a low blood pressure. We call it hypotension. Delayed capillary refill is a sign that you'll hear people talk about. You know, you squeeze the nail, it turns white, give it a second or two, and it turns pink again. That's what's normal. If it doesn't turn pink again rapidly, that would be delayed capillary refill. It just means you have poor perfusion. You just don't have enough blood pressure, enough blood volume circulating. So blood loss and subsequent death can happen very quickly. And I'm talking very quickly, right? Think about it. A femoral artery, that blood vessel that runs from your hip down your leg, pretty good size. A femoral artery bleed can result in death in less than 2 minutes. Okay, so think about 2 minutes. It's not a lot of time. You take a round, chainsaw accident, motor vehicle accident, something that severs that femoral artery. You have 2 minutes between you're standing there happy to dead. So you don't have a whole lot of time. Now, obviously, there's going to be a line that you cross somewhere in those 2 minutes where you might already be non-salvageable, right? You've lost too much blood. When we say that we need to have aggressive treatment, right? There's not a lot we can do in the field as far as treating blood loss that's already spilled on the ground. So the key really is stopping the bleeding, all right? There's an adage that says all bleeding stops eventually, and that is true, right? It's not, when your heart stops beating, bleeding stops. So, all right, I'm going to cover quickly here the 3 approaches to bleeding control, or what we call hemorrhage control, that we cover in TCCC. And then subsequent videos, we're going to talk about these. Massive hemorrhage, is not a one-shot video. I'm actually going to break this up into a couple videos, maybe 3, because there's so much material under massive hemorrhage. Some of the other segments, most of the other segments are probably just a 1 video. But I don't want to bore you to death here and give you an hour dissertation. These are supposed to be quick, kind of teasers to the class. So hemorrhage control, tourniquet the limbs, using tourniquets to stop the bleeding of extremity bleeding, arms and legs. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, pack bleeding. Pack the wounds in the chest and abdomen, so the chest all the way around, abdomen. Any bleeding chest or abdominal wounds we pack, okay? We pack them with either gauze, straight up rolled gauze, or we use impregnated gauze. And when we say impregnated, we talk about impregnated with a couple of chemicals. One is called kaolin, the other one's called chitosan, and we're going to talk about those more in future videos. But brand names of these things are like Quick Clot, Celox, Xstat. Those are some of the brand names. All right, you fill the wound, and we're going to cover this in a future video. You fill the wound, hold pressure, stop the bleeding, right? So tourniquet the limbs, pack the bleeding in the chest or the abdomen, and then 3 is junctional tourniquets, okay? Junctional bleeding. So we've covered extremities, torso. Now we got to deal with junctions. Junctional bleeds are where the arms and legs attach to the body. Okay, those are tough. Those are hard ones. Go watch the movie Black Hawk Down, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Junctional bleeds, you can't use a tourniquet, a regular limb tourniquet, a circumferential tourniquet that goes around, because, the tourniquet can only go this high, and the bleeding's right here, okay? I will say that, again, they have a product, it's called junctional tourniquets. There's a lot of different ones out there on the market. The Combat Ready Clamp, the SAM junctional tourniquet. I think there's one called the JET, the Junctional Emergency Trauma Tool. I've seen them used. They're effective when they're placed properly. They're not great for moving patients around. I don't think any of them do real well when you're moving a patient. But basically the idea is, however they're designed, right? They all work a little differently, but they have something that you fasten, that you turn down, and it serves as a clamp, and it puts pressure down onto that bleeding artery or vein. Okay. If you don't have a junctional tourniquet, which most of us probably are not going to have one of those, you can treat it the same way you treated the chest and abdominal bleeds. You pack it. Pack it with gauze, pack it with, better yet, is those hemostatic dressings, something with, kaolin or chitosan impregnated. All right, turn the page on my notes here. I think that's all I'm going to cover today, really. I'm going to save the real meat and potatoes for the upcoming videos. So today was just kind of a teaser on massive hemorrhage, and how we're going to go about talking about it, and then how we're going to go about it in the field treating it if we ever have to. So the next video, I'll continue the TCCC March PAWS series. It'll be part 2 on massive hemorrhage, and I think specifically I'll probably use that entire video just to talk about tourniquets, and I'll have a couple examples for you to look at, maybe do a demo on putting on a tourniquet. They're pretty straightforward. So again, I'm Rich Kuchman with Strategic Self-Reliance and Defense. I hope to see you in class. Thanks for watching.